In ancient Roman mythology, the month of January is named after the god Janus. He's the god of beginnings and endings, as well as of liminal spaces, the gates and transitions and passages between one chapter of our life ending and another beginning. As a visual manifestation of this duality, Janus is said to have two faces, each looking in the opposite direction of the other. He's the perfect namesake for this first month of the year, when we feel this natural inclination to both look back at the year that has been and forward to the year that is still unfolding. So at the beginning of this new year of 2025, in the spirit of Janus's two faces, I'd like to invite us to reflect a bit on a book titled The Good Life: Lessons from the World's Longest Scientific Study of Happiness. It's co-authored by Robert Waldinger, a professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, and interestingly also an authorized Zen master, as well as by Mark Schultz, who's a psychology professor at Bryn Mawr College. They're both the current directors of the Harvard Study of Adult Development that began 87 years ago in 1938 and is still going strong. It began as a longitudinal study to look at two groups, 268 undergraduates at Harvard College, as well as 456 inner-city boys in Boston. And over the decades, it's expanded to include 3 generations and more than 1,300 of the descendants of those original 724 participants. They've also incorporated other studies from other studies worldwide, so it's not like just about Boston. So the results of this decades-long research, they're of particular interest because longitudinal studies tend to last somewhere between several years to a decade and maintain only 30 to 70% of their participants. This study has lasted almost 9 decades and has a remarkable 84% participation rate. So from the close study of more than 2,000 lifetimes, as well as this input from around the world, what have these researchers discovered about what best contributes to making a good life? One of the clearest takeaways from having followed the lived reality of so many people over their full lifespan is that everybody's life is complicated. Newsflash, right? That's not a... But actually, I think that's pretty significant. Our current social media age makes it possible for people to post these perfectly curated photos. And now you can use these things where you can erase things out of the background and all of this stuff. So that can make it seem like other people's lives are perfect. But there's a lot of wisdom in that old saying that cautions against judging your life against the surface appearance of someone else's life. Never compare your insides to everyone else's outsides. If you have intimate access, though, to look closely over time, especially over someone's full life, what you'll find is that everyone has significant ups and downs. Everyone has turmoil as well as calm, lightness as well as burden, struggles as well as achievements, setbacks, leaps forward as well as terrible falls. By no means are everyone's difficulties the same, but every human being has to face losses and sorrows, trials and challenges. So that's one potential negative resolution, so to speak, in this new year, to stop comparing your insides to everyone else's outsides, or even just to notice when you do that. I promise that's significant progress, that moment of mindfulness, instead of just doing the comparison, realizing, oh wait, I'm doing it again. I'm comparing my insides to other people's outsides. That really is progress. It makes it workable instead of just being hooked. Many of you have heard me make the analogy before, that powerful switch from saying I am to there is. Instead of I am anxious, oh, there is anxiety. Yeah, but there's also other things, right? So that's what mindfulness is, moving from I am something to there it is. Oh, there it is, comparison. There it is. It at least makes it workable. So that's a negative resolution you might make in the new year, to try to do less of that or become more aware of it. What about a potential positive resolution, something to potentially do more of in this new year? What comes out of this study of 2,000 lifetimes over 9 decades? Interestingly, you might expect the kind of long list of things you might do, but there's actually one particular finding that has stood out as contributing most commonly to happiness and healthiness and the good life. And it's not career achievement, it's not exercise, it's not a healthy diet. Those are important, those things matter quite a bit, but in this, not dieting, we can't have that discussion right now. Anyway, in this decades-long study, one thing continuously demonstrates its broad and enduring importance, and that is good relationships versus isolation. So if you're going to make one choice, one single decision that could best ensure your own health and happiness, though it's a decision you have to keep making over and over throughout your life, science tells us your choice should be to lean in to cultivating warm relationships of all kinds. This finding makes me think that instead of the first question people ask being, what do you do for a living? We should start asking something like, are you a part of any social groups or communities that you actually like, that are of good people, and could I come to one of those meetings with you? And although I had no idea before reading this book that their big recommendation would be, their big insight would be that the frequency and quality of our contact with other people are 2 major predictors of happiness, I'm pleased to say that is a life goal that UCF can help you with, or likely help you with. I mean, building beloved community, that's one of the 3 major reasons we exist as a congregation: spirituality, community, and justice. It's right there in the middle, building beloved community. And if you go to frederickuu.org/who, or if you just click on the contact link on our homepage, you will see a 9-page document that's all of the things going on here, all the ways you might join, or at least most of them. If you read through that and see something we're missing, just email me. Or look in our order of service, sign up for our e-newsletter, like I've said, email me at minister@frederickuu.org. Or if you're like, you know what, there's a group I'd like to start, you can also email me and we can talk about it. I know it can be hard to visit a new group for the first time. Some of you may be extreme extroverts and you're like, yes, new groups, bring it. Others of us have a little more social anxiety. But please know, if you go to some new thing and it's not your jam, just back up slowly and wave as you leave the room. It's totally fine. Say you're going to use the bathroom and don't come back. It's fine. It's fine. You don't have to stay. But I do encourage you, lean into discovering new groups where you might actually find some wonderful new relationships. And relatedly, let me add another insight from modern psychology. It's a term called affective forecasting, and that's just a fancy term for saying that most of us humans are really bad at predicting how we're going to feel in a new situation. So in regards specifically to new friendships, we tend to overestimate the messiness and the unpredictability that some new person that we don't know well and introducing them into our lives, what that might bring. And we tend to underestimate the benefits that can come from new human connections. And as a result, we tend to form fewer friendships, especially as we get older and we don't meet new people at college or things like that. So as you're reflecting on the relationships you already have and the ones you may be interested in experimenting with forming in 2025, the Harvard Study of Adult Development recommends this chart for evaluating whether your relationship is good or not, or a relationship with a group is good or not, because the effective forecasting is only about before you actually go. Once you go, you actually know whether you like it or not, right, and whether you want to go back. So you'll notice in a few minutes that our annual ritual of fire communion is framed around a similar set of discernment questions. So that vertical axis is inviting you to notice, how does a relationship or group make you feel? And that horizontal axis is inviting you to know, how often does it happen? And it's do all of your things happen, is all the good energizing stuff happening infrequently and all the depleting stuff happening frequently, and how might you kind of adjust things on that chart? So at the top, an energizing relationship would mean that it enlivens you, it invigorates you more often than not. It gives you a sense of connection and belonging. It leaves you feeling better, happier than you would have if you hadn't met up with that person or attended that group. On the bottom, a depleting relationship or a depleting group more often than not induces tension and frustration and anxiety. It makes you feel worried. It might even make you feel demoralized. It tends to make you feel lesser and even more disconnected than you would have felt if you'd just been alone. Think back on the people and groups in your life in 2024, which tended on balance to be energizing and which tended on balance to be depleting. In this new year of 2025, how might you increase or decrease the frequency accordingly to the extent it's within your control? And what new people or groups might you experiment with adding to your life to cultivate new good relationships that might be more frequent and more energizing? To begin embodying a response, you'll be invited in a few minutes to participate in our annual UU ritual of fire communion. This is the lighting stuff on fire part. Reflecting on this past year, is there a person, is there a place, is there a habit that has been consistently a hindrance to your well-being or the well-being of those around you as a result of you doing it? Is there something or someone that you feel called to let go of, to say a more consistent no to in this new year? What has been life-negating, a hindrance to your well-being, leaving you feeling regularly drained of energy, alienated, or resentful? Either now or later this week, I invite you to and we're going to do this right now, or you can do it as well as home. I want you to set an intention to let go of it, and then we'll explain this a little more later, but through magic, it's going to go away. So, and Irene will explain a little more about the logistics. Some of you are going to be a little more fire-phobic, and others a little fire-philic. So while burning a slip of paper does not necessarily mean that the process of letting go is complete, I do invite you to experiment with letting this ritual be one step in the process of saying a more solid no to a part of your life that has been life-negating to you. You're also going to be invited, after doing that, to light a candle in order to set an intention for a person, place, or habit that you want to affirm, to say a more yes to in the new year, to whatever has regularly left you or might leave you feeling more energized and connected and grateful and more fully alive. So think about also, what do you want to let go of and what do you want to say yes to in this new year? If you're watching again at home, you're welcome to get a candle or find something to burn.